So, can I ask you a question? I mean, obviously, this is the first time my guests are actually like, getting a chance to actually see you and stuff on screen. But how did you get into real estate?
I grew up poor
Yeah.
and in Los Angeles, California, and I didn't like being poor very much. And by about, you want the honest answer?
Yeah, please.
Okay. I'll seem like a real nerd here. But around ninth grade, as I was into becoming an adult, I noticed that I went to a very mixed school. Okay. So we had integration. Okay. That was the time of integration where they were busing kids in from very bad neighborhoods. And they were really mixing the schools as part of this plan to make the Great Society, right?
Which the melting pot.
Yeah,
right?
it was a disaster. It doesn't work, but whatever. So the school was very mixed with all socioeconomic classes in my junior high school,
Right.
and I was in the lower end of that.
Yeah.
I wasn't in the lowest, okay, but I realized that the cool group, with all the pretty girls, they were hanging out with the rich guys.
Yeah.
And from the rich families that lived in an area called Cheviot Hills. So a lot of those parents were in the movie business and stuff like that. And they were, wealthy. And they had the nice new clothes. They'd go on cool trips all the time. And all the pretty girls were hanging around them. And so I wanted to be in that group. And I wasn't. Right. And so it motivated me. And I remember, a little later, by the time I was 16 years old, I saw an infomercial with a real estate guru. And, it seemed so great. He was talking about buying houses and investing in properties. And I got his book. And I read 3 whole chapters. And I was only 16, okay?
Right.
As Kid Rock says in that great song All Summer Long, which is a great music video, by the way. He says, "My thoughts were short, my hair was long."
Yeah.
And that was me. And now I don't have much hair, unfortunately. But so, I put the book down, but my mom picked it up. And she read the whole thing. Okay. And she started reading other real estate books and going to seminars. 2 years later, I'm 18 years old. I'm about to graduate from high school. She says, "Jason, there's this real estate seminar by Disneyland in Anaheim, California, right? Where it's not too far from where we lived."
Yep.
And she said, "Why don't you go? Why don't you go to the real estate seminar?" And so I couldn't do anything alone at that age. I rounded up 9 of my buddies from high school.
Right.
I got them all to go. And so it's Friday night. The first speaker comes on, and he's talking about, points.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what are point? I don't know what he's talking about. And what he meant was loan points. So when you get a mortgage on a property, you pay prepaid interest, which are points, which is 1% of the loan amount. Okay. And so that seminar went the whole weekend, and I stayed the whole weekend. By Saturday morning,
was it actually a seminar?
Yeah, it was like it was like a bunch of speakers.
Okay,
it was a speaker fest, and they were all pitching their programs and stuff.
Got it. Okay.
But they'd talk for an hour, and then there'd be another speaker, and so it was good. And so by Saturday morning, that was Friday night. By Saturday morning, all of my friends except one had gone to the beach. So one of my buddies is still there with me all day Saturday. By Sunday, he bailed, and I was the only one that stayed the whole time till the last speaker on Sunday afternoon. And what I realized is I just got to learn the basics of real estate.
Right.
So I thought, I'll just get my real estate license. I'm 18 years old. I could get a license, right? And that would teach me the basics. And so I enrolled in Century 21 Real Estate School for $99, not adjusted for inflation. That was the cost. Okay, so I don't know what it is today. It's like way less. Adjusted for inflation. And I finished. I got my real estate license my first year of college. I'm going to Long Beach City College. And I got my real estate license, and I started selling real estate for Century 21 part-time while I was going to college.
Right.
And my first full month in the business, I sold 5 properties, and I thought, this is too easy.
Wait, you sold 5 properties?
Yeah,
Wow.
because I was working, and most real estate agents were not working. They were meeting in the office, standing around the coffee pot or the water cooler, and complaining. And I was working. Okay. And so, I drove people around in my little Volkswagen Jetta. I put classified ads in the newspaper. That's when we had newspaper. Yeah. And people would call and they'd buy these government repo properties from me, HUD and VA repos. I sold them, showing these houses were like boarded up, bad areas. So I sold properties to first-time home buyers, usually Hispanic, a lot of them, and then to investors as well. And I helped them buy the houses. About 6 months into my career, I'm now 20. Yeah. Okay. And one of my clients, a guy named Jim Wool, he had purchased a couple properties from me. And he said, Jason, I don't want this property. I don't really like this one I bought from you. Why don't you take the listing and sell it, and I'll buy something else from you? Okay. And I said, hey, Jim, I don't want to sell it for you. I want to buy it from you. So living at home with my mom, I bought my first rental property. So I was a landlord, but I lived at home.
But you lived with your mom. You lived with your